Trump. Let's do Donald Trump then now, shall we? What have you got for us?
Why not?
Donald today.
Yeah.
The Donald.
And I think a lot of listeners will find it like I do. The current presidential primaries are mystifying in many ways. I mean, you've got this Republican frontrunner who's a bit of a P.T. Barnum type of a figure. He's talking about making America great, but no detail. He's likely not to get the number of votes he needs to be the automatically selected candidate, in which the whole thing apparently goes to a brokered convention and the whole thing's decided by sort of arcane internal policies that I know nothing about. And we may have somebody on the Republican side then, like Paul Ryan, who wasn't even in the primaries this time. If the GOP, the Republican Party, took that route, I think it's just going to stoke the anger and frustration of people who support Trump, who are frustrated with politics anyway, and they may not vote at all, in which case it hands it to Hillary Clinton on a platter. If, however, Trump does become the nominee, I think it's a miserable choice for most Americans, and polls suggest that a lot of people feel this way. On the one hand, you'd have a hot-headed political novice, and on the other, you'd have a reportedly, in some places, calculating political junkie, who both seem to want high office for its own sake. And I think we just have to hope that in this election cycle, the American experiment doesn't get too experimental.
But that's a nice line. The Democrats that I've spoken to, though, the few that I know, say to me that they're not particularly enamoured with Hillary either, which is really interesting. She seems to be a busted flush for whatever reason.
Yeah, 58%, I read, of Democrats say that they don't favour Hillary Clinton.
Why is it? Where has she gone so wrong? Because the idea of America's first female president should set the country on fire in the way that the idea of first black American president set them on fire should.
I don't think that's enough, though, for people. You know, when they're talking about the leader of the free world and the leader of their nation for the next 4, possibly 8 years, if it gets a second term. And look, let's face it, Hillary Clinton is associated with all sorts of shenanigans going back to her husband's governorship, all the way through to her recent stint as Secretary of State with emails and so on. So I don't think that people relish a President Trump, and I don't think people relish a President Clinton. So it's a bad choice, really. And I think another point here is in the world of social media, people are a bit immunised to hyperbole. You know, people will say ridiculous things on social media. Now they're hearing politicians saying ridiculous, over-the-top things and not batting an eyelid, thinking, well, he probably doesn't mean that. He's probably behind the scenes means something else. And it's almost, for the first time, that's become part of our political dialect. Hyperbole.
You can get away with it. In other words, you can get away with being ridiculous now.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a very interesting point.